Welcome back to today's Photo Minute. My name is Brian Osborne of the Photo Classroom, and today was a great day to be outside. It's a beautiful day, but as we've been talking about photographing birds in our yard, I wanted to introduce the idea of maybe using fill flash. Because right now is a great time to be possibly shooting. Might be a fun time for you to be out trying to capture some birds. But the contrast is really a challenge right now with the bright sun. And so I wanted to just give you the idea of maybe using the fill flash outside and give you a couple parameters for doing that. Number one is, remember that the benefit of using the fill flash is it fills in the shadows of the subject, helps add a little catch light maybe to the bird's eyes, as well as gives you more detail and better color often in the same scene. And especially during the middle of the day, what you might struggle with is maybe the bird is in the shade and the background's in the sun, and you're almost going to get a silhouette if you don't try using the flash. Or maybe the bird's up on a branch, kind of under mixed lighting, half shade, half sun, and that's not going to make for a very pleasing shot either. So I wanted to just give us a couple ideas of using the flash outside. Number one is you're probably going to need to use an accessory flash, not your built-in flash. You're going to need a lot of power to make this fill flash work. Many of you might know that the flash actually has an auto zoom control. So what tends to happen is as you zoom in your telephoto lens, it concentrates the beam of light automatically inside the flash head, and by doing that you get a better effective distance from your flash. Some of you might be asking what's on the end of my flash, and this is not a mandatory accessory by any means, but if you're finding that you're just not getting enough output out of your flash given the distance that you're trying to photograph the birds at, you might try the Better Beamer. It's about a $30 accessory. Basically is a Fresnel type lens on the front of it, and it takes the flash, the light that comes from the flash, it concentrates it even more, and by doing so you can get a lot greater effective distance from your flash by giving this a try. So I would try the flash by itself first because it's easiest, but you might keep this in mind as an optional accessory as well. In terms of a couple other settings just to think about, number one is high-speed sync. Remember that your camera and your flash are only meant to go up to about 2/50th of a second shutter speed, and you're going to want a faster shutter speed than that to either stop your motion, 1,000th of a second probably, or 2,000, 4,000th of a second if you want to stop the bird in motion. That's another whole challenge, but certainly if you want to do that, you need a faster shutter speed. And so you need to look up in your camera instruction manual on a Nikon or on the Canon flash manual, look up how to turn that flash or that camera into high-speed sync. That way the flash will be able to operate at a faster shutter speed. The other thing is that you probably aren't going to be able to stay in program mode outside with the flash, which is what we've always suggested in most other situations. You're probably going to need to go to manual mode because you're going to need to get a fast shutter speed. You might want a kind of a medium aperture to have some depth of field on the subject, but then also you might need some higher ISO to make those other two components come together just to get the ambient light right. And so you might go to manual mode. I would actually start out in aperture priority, see what settings you were using for your available light bird photography, and then set those three settings, aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, as your starting point for your manual settings. You'll have to play with just how to make manual give you the right exposure, but that's a starting place. And then turn on your flash and start playing with how much flash output you need. So if you need more flash output, you're going to go plus flash compensation. If you need less flash, then you're going to do minus flash compensation. You're going to be going for reaching the right balance of fill flash with the ambient light that you already have in your picture. One final reminder, you can't shoot in high frame advance mode. You can't be shooting 5 or 6 frames a second because the flash doesn't recycle that fast. So you're probably going to need to go to single frame advance and just kind of choose the shots that you take, because that flash isn't going to be recycled for each and every picture if you shoot rapidly. I'm going to show a couple pictures with this post of where I used the fill flash and how helpful it was for some birds that I did just right here in the backyard. And just encourage you to go out, practice this. May not work in every situation, but it's something for you to kind of add to your bag of tricks. And especially when you don't have good lighting, when that lighting is very contrasting, you still want to be able to photograph, you might try using the fill flash for our backyard wildlife. Thank you again for joining us for today's Photo Minute.